Hello Buttercup, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little different, but this has been a really hard few years for many people, and I see a lot of people struggling. So though I do share resources at times and have shared some things about my life and my mental illnesses and ADHD, I do have a fairly extensive list that I've gathered over a decade that I've used personally, and therefore I am comfortable recommending. There are some that we'll get into, just like a couple, that I haven't personally done, but I know many people that have, and so I can attest that is a legitimate resource or tool or book, so on and so forth. So you'll probably notice like a couple where it might not fit for me, but it's because I know many people have recommended it over and over again for a decade or more, and so I include this just to try and get as many resources in one video as possible. Now, if there is something that I'm missing and you need information on, please leave that in the comments section below and I will answer, or if you're not comfortable with that, I do have an email address, nicolepierbusiness@gmail.com, that you can email me. I will try to link everything that I can in the description box, but I have a lot of stuff. So if I miss something, sorry, but it's just because it's a lot of info. Some of these are tools and coping mechanisms and also lifestyle changes, and then there are resources. They're mixed in with one another because I wrote these things down as they came to me because there was just a lot, so I didn't particularly organize them in pretty sections because that's also just not how my brain works. I apologize. Also want to add before jumping in, I have a lot of resources. Some of them will work for you, others will not. So that's why I provide multiple resources for the same type of mental illness or mental disorder or neurological disorder, because you might not like this one psychotherapist, but you really love this other psychotherapist. So just do some research, try things out, and see what fits for you. Now, the first person I will be recommending is Tim Fletcher's channel on YouTube, and that is focused on trauma and overcoming it. The second YouTube channel is Psychology with Dr. Anna, and she is focused on evidence-based information on relationships, psychology, stoicism, how to overcome issues, so on and so forth. Another YouTube channel is Mended Light for relationship trauma and how to change your life with guides and classes. Tim Fletcher also has guides and classes. Most of these have guides and classes or books, so you just have to do a little digging and see what you prefer. Nathan Peterson has an online OCD course for a one-time fee. He is an OCD specialist, and that is under his channel Anxiety and OCD. That is for mainly OCD, but also anxiety disorders on occasion. Another YouTube channel is Yoga with Adriene, and these are free yoga sessions that you can do at home. And this is very important because we are trying to get the mind and the body connected once more, especially if you have mental illnesses, specifically trauma. You need to reconnect the mind and the body. Another YouTube channel, Therapy in a Nutshell, is run by an excellent therapist, and she has a huge range of videos for all types of mental health related topics. Moving on to books for a moment, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. This is about trauma and PTSD, though trigger warning due to very graphic examples, but that is, I think more than 1 million copies sold, if not more than 1 million. I think maybe we're pushing 3 million or something like that. There are many, many people that do need examples on what is a traumatic experience, how that is then formed, and then how to treat it. So be mindful. There's graphic examples through Bessel van der Kolk's career that he is sharing, but it is needed. Waking the Tiger by Peter A. Levine, another book on trauma that talks about how trauma is held in the body and how to release it. Very important. And actually, one of the ways that you can release trauma, or at least ease the symptoms of PTSD, is yoga. Another book is Overcoming Unwanted Intrusive Thoughts by Martin Seif and Sally Watson. It's an in-depth book on OCD. Another one for OCD is Getting Control by Lee Baer. Speaking of OCD, No OCD is an app where you can find OCD specialists that will diagnose and treat you virtually. I found this out through Howie Mandel. Shout out to Howie. And I think a lot of people know that Howie Mandel has OCD, so if he is in partnership with No OCD, I very much trust that it is legit, and I've heard great things. Insight Timer, or the Calm Meditation app for mindfulness and meditation guides. Very important. We want to stay in the present moment. We want to bring compassion and grace, not just for others, but to yourself during this healing journey and for the rest of your life. No matter where you are, you do need to have some compassion for yourself. If you are international and have OCD, please look into OCD International website for help, because everywhere is different. So there will be things that I say, for OCD that might not work because you're in Austria. So that's just a random country. No offense to Austria. I was just saying. OCD International has global resources, not just US or Canada based. Gabor Mate, very important. He is very focused on trauma and addiction. He has a wide range of books that are extremely helpful. ADHD, trauma, addiction, and a few others. And he does quite a few interviews, so I suggest his books and or interviews to get to know ADHD, addiction, trauma, and how that affects not just yourself, but those around you and society. Now, if you're in the US specifically and going through a mental health crisis, you can dial 988. And that is kind of like 911, but it's just for mental health and substance use disorders. The Anger Management Workbook for Women by Julie Catalano. That's for anger management targeted for women. And then we have the Anger Management Workbook for Men by Karmin, LCPC, targeted for men. Look into Thich Nhat Hanh's techniques and books on mindfulness. This is a lifelong lifestyle change, also a coping mechanism that you actively do every single day. It's hard. I didn't get the hang of mindfulness until a couple of years into my intense trauma and ERP therapy, but it has absolutely changed my life. And he is one of the best teachers of mindfulness and meditation. He's not trying to make you become a Buddhist monk or nun or anything like that, and it doesn't even need to be spiritual or religious whatsoever. So this is also good for atheists. I'm an atheist. I still love and adore Thich Nhat Hanh. His teachings saved my life. It's really important in the beginning to have a teacher or just someone to refer to when you're struggling with mindfulness, or even like what is mindfulness. He goes over all of that and more. If you want to get advanced, I suggest the book What Every Therapist Needs to Know About Anxiety Disorders by Martin Seif and Sally Watson. That is targeted at therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, as the title suggests. But there are some people like myself that I just want to know all of the things, and I want to get really, really specific, drill down into things on my own and then work on that. It's not recommended for everyone. There's a lot of people that it would not work for, or it would overwhelm you, it would anger you, upset you. I think if you are recovered and you're subclinical, I think that it would be good for you. But if you're working on yourself still, it's too advanced. I would skip that. It is really good for those that can digest that psychology level type of nonfiction. Atomic Habits by James Clear, to learn about habits, how they form, how long it takes to form or break habits, and ways to form habits slowly and keep up with habits. Retrain Your Brain, Cognitive Behavioral Health Workbook in 7 weeks, though no pressure about these 7 weeks, by Seth J. Gillihan, PhD. Now, tips and tricks for finding a therapist and or psychiatrist. This is mainly for the US, possibly for Canada and other countries. I am not completely sure, so just keep this in mind. It's mainly for the United States. You could try it out and see if that works. So I think actually this first tip is pretty universal. The second tip might just be for the US. But anyway, you can go through your doctor and describe symptoms and say, okay, I've done research online and I think I have this and that. Can you refer me to someone that you trust? That's a good way to go, especially if you like your doctor. But to find a therapist and or psychiatrist, the best way is Google. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in, for example, OCD specialist in Washington, D.C. And usually the first option is Psychology Today. And that is legit because Psychology Today gathers information in all things psychology for users to find mental health resources around your area a bit easier than just typing in OCD therapist and then good luck with that search, right? You can definitely also include your health insurance at the end. So it could be OCD therapist in Washington, D.C. that takes Humana? I saw a commercial for it, so I'm just randomly pulling that out of thin air, and I don't know if I pronounced that right, but you get the point. That is really, really fine-tuning your search results even more, and then you can start your research on the best fit for you within Psychology Today's website that will basically pop up on the first, second, or third search, for sure on the first page of Google. And remember, I know it's really, really hard, but no matter where you are, you have to advocate for yourself and fight for yourself. Even if you have just like 2% of wanting to fight for yourself and advocate for yourself when it comes to getting mental health resources, grab onto that 2% and push it forward, because it's not even just the United States thing. I've talked to hundreds, if not probably we're pushing 1,000 people at this point through advocacy work and just talking to friends and family and all that. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to push for things that you want, or else the systems will not do anything about it. And that's really unfortunate. It's not just a United States thing. I see it in other countries as well. So there might be some fight. Like, for example, you go to your doctor and you say, you know, I might have OCD. And they're like, nah, no, you don't. You have to push forward. So especially if you have to go through someone else for a referral, you're going to have to fight for your rights. And that is scary and that's hard, but it is good for you in the long run. Just think of it like that. Now, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out in the comments section or via my email address. I'm not a professional, but I've been in therapy since I was 4 years old. My mom's a psychotherapist with over 25 years of experience. I have ADHD and 5 other mental illnesses, but I am considered subclinical and I have been in recovery for 5 years. And I do in-person and online advocacy work, so I know a thing or two about this world, but I'm not licensed, just letting you know. Please know that even though your mind's telling you that there's no hope, that you can't get better, there is. Humans are so fascinating because we are conscious beings. We can observe and detach from ourselves, from our minds, and our basic instincts and emotions. And you have a choice between the stimulus and your reaction. That's your power and your strength. Life sucks and it's hard sometimes, and it's not fair. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really damn hard. But don't forget that it's also fun and good and beautiful. No mud, no lotus, as Thich Nhat Hanh has said many, many times. You cannot grow a beautiful lotus flower without mud. What matters when you get knocked down is you getting up and fighting another day. And I hope these resources will help you fight another day, year, 50 years. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.